While the Ceres Ford office is investigating what happened at Palace, no charges have been laid. In the absence of charges, there's certainly no guilt established. But in 2014, guilt was established. A Northland egg producer, Forest Hill Farm, was selling cage eggs as free range. Its owner, John Garnett, was charged. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 12 months home detention and 200 hours community service. At the time, he claimed the practice was widespread. That was angrily rejected by the Egg Producers Federation, who called Garnett a rogue. I quote, "Consumers can be confident that this sort of thing isn't happening." Well, less than 3 years after that assurance, the Ceres Ford office is investigating whether something similar has indeed occurred. So we asked Michael Brooks, CEO of the Egg Producers Federation, what he makes of the accusations and revelations of the past 2 days.
Oh, look, we really feel betrayed as an industry. That's the comment I've had from a number of farmers. I know consumers will be upset, but I can assure you so are farmers as well by the actions of this one individual.
Right, the actions of this one individual. You said exactly the same thing after John Garnett was found to have been doing a similar kind of thing, and of course nothing has been proven here against Palace. So let's set that aside.
Sure.
Between April 2010 and November 2011, John Garnett's Forest Hill Farm packaged cage eggs in cartons labelled free range. He made an additional $376,000 as a result of doing so. You described that at the time as rogue.
Yes.
We've got to now begin to suspect that actually no one knows how common this is.
Well, we believe we do know. At the time, your listeners need to understand, Garnett was brought to justice by the industry. We learned of his actions, we reported him to the Commerce Commission.
After 18 months of passing off cage eggs as free range.
Sure, so he was misleading, but once we learned that something was happening and we worked through the system, we brought him to justice in terms of that. I have to say, in case of this individual, this one seems to have been a complete surprise.
And once again, we must repeat, this is an allegation and nothing is proven in the Ceres Ford office.
That's the allegation.
Okay.
So look, following the Garnett case, we've looked at a couple of options. One was a scientific option where you do isotope testing, done by an organisation called Oratane down in Mosgiel, ex-Otago University scientists. We've trialled that, quite a complex and detailed process, and it looked in many respects promising, but at the end of the day, it didn't give, well, for the certainty of farmers, it didn't give 100%. And so we've moved to the option, and we're well advanced on it, of stamping eggs individually. I can tell you that I actually did a paper for the board only a few weeks ago at the last board meeting, and they instructed me at that meeting to continue on that.
Okay, so wait a sec. So forgive me for interrupting, but yeah. John Garnett was doing that between April 2010 and April 2011. He was sentenced, I think, in August 2014. At the time, you said in a statement from the Egg Producers Federation, and I quote, "We have also taken steps to ensure more stringent traceability processes."
Yes, and we did. We developed a new audit profile. I can actually send you that more detailed audit system. We sent that to farmers. We discussed it with MPI as well, and we said, look, this is a more detailed audit document.
Has it been implemented?
Yeah, well, it's certainly been sent out to farmers, and farmers have been using it. So,
is it voluntary?
Well, yes, it's part of the audit process, so it's voluntary. But sorry, you said we have also taken steps to ensure more stringent traceability processes, plural. So there's a voluntary audit. What else did you do? So that was part of the audit process that we put in place. We certainly talked to farmers about the option, and we looked at this Oratane scheme. We had to trial that. We've trialled that a couple of times.
So in real terms, you know, where the rubber hits the road, you've actually done nothing, right?
No, I think that's very unfair, John. We have done that audit system. If you have a determined individual who wants to subvert the system, then they can do that. That's why we like looking at the idea now of egg stamping, because they can't subvert the documentation.
Okay, when do you think egg stamping will be a reality? In other words, when do you think consumers will be able to look at an egg and see that it is actually explicitly free range?
Okay, so I can't give a timeline because there's some complexities. I'll just explain what we're looking to do. So On the egg would be stamped a specific ID, because every farm has a specific ID, and then it would have a number, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and say 1 would be free range, 2 would be barn, 3 cage, etc. And from that would be done on the farm at the time of packing. So in this case, it's alleged that the person purchased cage eggs but then represented them as free range. If they'd purchased those cage eggs, they would have had a stamp on them, wouldn't have been able to pack them in a free range carton.
But this is still hypothetical, right? When do you think this will be happening?
Well, we're working through all the complexities of it. Look, there is big cost here. It can cost a six-figure sum in terms of the machinery. For the little free-range farmers, they don't have that machinery, so we've got to look at hand stamps, etc. So, and we don't want to put cost on. There will be cost to farmers. So we've got to look at that. We're working through those.
Absolutely,
those
but people are paying extra for free-range eggs, aren't they? I mean, you can get a cage egg for less than half the price of a free-range egg in some examples, and people are paying more because they have animal welfare considerations.
Sure.
They're paying more because actually they like the thought that the hen is having a quality of life. Now, if people are paying more and if people are charged more, isn't there an onus on you, on the industry, to absolutely guarantee that people are getting what they're paying for?
Yes, totally agree with you, John, and we are looking to do that. We trialled the extra audit processes. Clearly, as this case would seem to show, if a determined individual wants to subvert a system, then that can be done. So we've looked at the options, and egg stamping is the one that we are
So for someone sitting in their car tonight listening to this, or at home who's just about to crack an egg and cook it for their evening dinner, for whatever, whether they're putting it in baking or whatever they're making, how do you absolutely guarantee that the free-range egg you've purchased is free-range?
Well, we have just got to put as many systems in place that will prevent a lone individual, 1 out of 126 farmers, from doing something that subverts the system.
Okay, sorry, can you answer my question though, Michael? I'm so sorry to be insistent. How can you guarantee that the free-range egg you've purchased, which you paid extra money for, is actually free-range?
Well, can you prove anything is 100%? What we can do is that we have on-farm audits through the Ministry for Primary Industries.
Right, so you can't, so at the moment, sorry Michael, at the moment your industry and your producers are saying that you can't, as a consumer, you can't be guaranteed that the egg you're purchasing as free range is in fact free range.
We're taking every possible step to do it, but if an individual in this case wants to subvert the system, we can just continue to look at every option to try and prevent that from happening. I can say to your listeners that we work extremely hard on this. This is a case where wherever we hear of any suggestion of wrongdoing, we take all possible steps for checks to be made.
It was Michael Brooks from the Egg Producers Federation.